having me on. I'm going to go ahead and jump into this and share a screen with you guys, and we'll do some video towards the midpoint of the presentation. But, I think the coach said there is a hand raise. So if you got questions as we're going, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm going to make sure that, on the second slide here, if I do all this right, that you'll have the opportunity to have my contact information. But we really do love our guys from Arizona. And it's funny, I didn't even think about it when we got this. This is one of our backgrounds on a recruiting thing. And 3 of the 4 guys that are on there are Arizona guys. So you got Jordan Briggs, first team all-conference corner, far to the right from Brophy. A.J. Jackson, who was a freshman All-American kick returner from Centennial's number 35 there. And then Jamari Tansmore over on the left side is an all-conference defensive lineman from Chandler, even though the Chandler coaches told me he would never play defense because he was a starting center on their state championship team. And we had to move in spots to take advantage of them. But there's my contact information. I know Coach is recording this, but we are always open. That's my personal cell. Reach out to me anytime if you've got questions on this. I've been at Lake Forest for 15 years, coaching the scholarship level for 6 years before that as a D-line coach. And over the last 15 years, I was a linebacker coach for 13 years while being the head coach and defensive coordinator. And then due to having a great assistant coach on staff and Luke Butts, I was able to make him the defensive coordinator and move back to my roots as the D-line coach. We stunt quite a bit, and especially in the RPO era, we started to do this more. I will preface this by saying we are not a quarters team like a lot of schools. We are a true zone or man team where we're going to play cover 2, cover 3, some variations of that, and then man free or, cover 0 when we do some other stuff. But the reasons that we really got into line stunning even a little bit more is obviously it allows for 7 in coverage, but it also still allows you to keep 8 in the box for run game, particularly in cover 3. The changing in the gap responsibilities really caused some problems for the defensive linemen because they're not going after those stationary targets. And for our linebackers, it creates those run-through lanes where they already know where they're going to have a run-through lane. It's no longer them having to react and go. And sometimes that comfort allows them to do that. And it allows the linebackers to extend their coverage alignments. If they feel they need to get out more into the throwing lanes on an RPO or something like that, they can make these adjustments on the field to make us right. They don't have to be called. And then the worst athletes, and I say that with a tongue-in-cheek because I'm a D-line coach, so I believe the offensive line are the worst athletes. It makes them react to moving targets rather than guys going straight ahead. And at least traditionally for us, our defensive linemen tend to give up about 40 to 45 pounds to the offensive linemen that they're going against. And so when they've got that lighter body frame, we don't want to have them stationary for those offensive linemen. Get to the next screen here. All right. So obviously, little David Banner stunts a habit. We got to make sure we're ready. But last year we had 217 plays with a line stunt call. Right about 60% were coach call, 40% were player adjustments, and 33% of all of our defensive calls that were non-blitz were with a line stunt. Great success this last year. Like I said, we had a great defensive coordinator, number 1 in scoring defense in the league, and then 3 all-conference defensive linemen. What's interesting about that is not only are 2 of 3 would be considered undersized. One was a defensive end, only weighed about 215 pounds, but he was a first-team All-American. But the third defensive lineman was actually one of our backups. So Sam Akawobu, he's a Pinnacle grad, did not start a game for us this year, but he ended up being all-conference, and a lot of his plays, and you'll see him on film, were off of the line stunts and his just brute strength getting through there, making some things happen. So we were number 1 in the league in sacks, and those were predominantly off 4-man pressures. We didn't blitz for pass pressure. We held opponents to 3.3 yards per carry, 126 a game in rushing, and that's facing 2 triple option teams. Ripon College, who runs the true double slot bone triple, and then Lawrence University, who runs the fly sweep option. And then we had 7.8 TFLs. The reason I kind of say that is just to kind of tell you how we're using it, the success we're having. But it does mean we got to have great players, and that player accountability is a habit for them. They have to know what other teams do. And one of the things this does is that it forces them to see how teams are blocking stationary fronts, how they're picking up line stunts. And it's part of the film study, in particular with our defensive line and our linebackers, that they have to spend time looking at our offense from an offensive perspective. And we try to get them to think like a coach in terms of what are pass pros, what are the run schemes against the four-man front in certain down and distances. And then defensively, it's the return on chance or return on change. If they're going to make a change to the coach's call, if they're going to make an adjustment, what's the return on that investment? Is there any risk? Is there reward available? And if there is, let's make sure we take care of it. A term that we've stolen from a coaching buddy of mine is BLAs, and that's basic linebacker adjustments. And the more time that we've spent over the last couple of years with our linebackers, making sure that they can truly act as the quarterbacks of our defense, we want them to make these adjustments on the field. And these are situations where if their alignment is putting them in conflict, that they have the ability to make a line stunt call, and they can make it a half line or a full line call. And based on the given week in the film study, they can make different ones on different weeks to give us a better situation against the run game. With the increased RPOs that we're starting to see, particularly with the vertical threats, whether it's slants or seams or stick routes, whatever it might be, we need to keep linebackers in those overhang positions sometimes a little bit longer than we want, in particular if we're trying to keep a too high safety shell to not tip our coverages. With this, it allows our linebackers to close down B gaps, in particular with the 5 technique, when they have to walk out and no longer have to be concerned about that. There is a coach responsibility that goes along with this as well. The first part of that is you got to teach the why. Why would you want to run a line stunt? Why would you want to make this adjustment? Why are we as coaches making line stunt calls and helping those players understand that as they go out onto the field, that they are now an extension of you and your brain. And so if you don't prepare them, that mistake is for you as a coach to own, not for the players. And if they have not covered the subject that week or that going into that game, that's something I believe is truly on the coach to make sure that they own it, so the team doesn't blame the player in front of them. As a coordinator, head coach, you've got to be in sync with the D-line coach and vice versa. And then are there situations where you want to freeze? And so freeze for us just means that no adjustments can be made. And we actually signal that in, that if we no longer want our players making adjustments in the situation, we'll just make a freeze call. And they know that they don't mess with the coverage or they don't mess with the line stunts. They just play it as is, even if they're in conflict, that we're going to live with the call that we have based on the situation and the scouting report that the coach is making the call based upon. And then the final thing is, are there coverages we don't want? Man coverage is something we want, less line stunts. Is there too weak is already sit in the box, or do we get a swim box, Sam, Will, and Mike in the box? At those points, you don't always need to add a line stunt because you've got second-level players that can take care of the run game cleanly. And then the final part of here is for the coaches is they must teach the pass pro of the opponent in depth. It can't just be this is slide protection. It's like, well, how many guys are in the slide? If I'm a 2-eye, should I see the guard or will I see the center? And teaching them those different components so that they're prepared. Some basic things, we will spend time just teaching the base engagement of different blocks that our guys are going to have. And then we will talk about how we're going to handle these versus stunts. And so if any of those terms are foreign to anybody as I get going later on, we can always kind of revert back to this. And then for our defensive line, we're going to spend time teaching them, what a pass pro pass slide looked like. And then the two that we're going to use, we actually just use the terms right from our playbook because it's pretty similar to what everybody else is running. And because we're truly a more 4-2 look or a 4-3 look, we're going to spend most of our time on that approach. And for our guys to understand where the guard is going to go based on where the 3 technique is aligned or based on where the will linebacker is a critical opportunity for them to get better as we go through, the line stunt teach progression. Because we don't just draw lines and say, go to these spots. We want to spend time teaching them how to line stunt. And so the 2 pass pros that are up there, the silver and gray, and then the next one, green and gold, one is just a 6-man protection, one's a 5-man protection, explaining to our players where the back will fit, explaining to him where the guard's going to go so that they know predominantly what kind of pass pro they're going to see from our opponents. And spending time with them to make sure that they have that is truly one of the more critical things as they get better in the long down and distances, as well as for teams that run versions of draw. to make sure that they know the difference between draw protection, which is actually a run block, or versus their normal pass pro. Because it's amazing the number of offensive teams that block draw differently than they do from any of their actual pass pros. They can be a slide in all of their 5-step, but as soon as they go to a draw play, it's going to be a big on big protection that they don't run any other time. Can we get our defensive linemen to adjust to that and understand it and not make those mistakes? We have a couple of line stunt commandments. The first one, and this is something that we changed probably 4 or 5 years ago, where in our even man line stunts, whether it's 2 or 4 men in the line stunt, the scraper only goes if it's a pass play. So there's no automatic just looping and swooping on the old tech stunt or exit stunt that people used to run. We'll get the penetrator to switch gaps, but the scraper will only go if it's pass unless we tag it. If it's a 3-man line stunt, an odd man line stunt, it's an automatic go for the scraper, and those are going to be used predominantly in passing situations or in draw situations. As we talked about, the penetrator is always going to go, but he can't go past the press point, and I'll clean the press point and finish point terminology up on the next slide for you. And then they have to listen for tags or blitzes and know how that affects them, because we can run a line stunt that requires them to get into a contained rush position if there's no other blitzer, but as soon as we add an edge blitzer, they're now just a B-gap defender and a hook rush. And then the 2 U's that we use are skin and bone. Skin is an in-penetrating movement, and then bone is a B-gap. So imagine a 2-eye alignment going to the B-gap for the run game, but that player is now responsible for contain on pass. And so we call that a bone technique, which is B-gap to outside, no escape, to try and help our guys learn that and be really intelligent and smart about knowing the different situations that they may have. So we talked about aiming point, press point, finish point, and these are teaching mechanisms for our guys on how they should stunt. And so the aiming point is where the penetrating player is trying to get to pre-snap. So on the top view here, if this nose is trying to pinch into this A-gap, he's trying to skin into the A-gap over here, his aiming point is the inside shoulder, near shoulder of the center. And that's his pre-snap aiming position. As the ball is snapped, we know everybody's going to be moving, and now that's where we get to the press point. And for this situation, the press point would still be the same for that nose. However, on the one below it, where the buck is now the penetrator, he's going to penetrate into the B gap. So the near side shoulder of the guard would be that went back on me. Near side shoulder of the guard would be the press point, meaning he cannot go past there until it is a pass play. He can't move past that position. So if that near shoulder of the guard disappears inside, he follows it inside. If it steps at him, he must now get vertical against that shoulder instead of continuing to penetrate forward. The axe, and then the finish point would be where the D-line is going to finish on his pass rush. What part of the quarterback are they going to get to? So a contained rusher would need to get to the upfield shoulder of the quarterback. A hook rusher, an A-gap or B-gap rusher, needs to get to the near eye of the quarterback or the near hip of the quarterback, depending on the stunt. And so these 3 terms in particular have helped us as we look at our players to get a better understanding of what a line stunt should look like. It also helps them understand better, what is needed for them to play off of as blocks are coming at them. And so again, as we get into the run blocking technique, if it's a zone scheme and the player is zoning away, the press point travels with that player. If it's a pass play, the finish point travels with the quarterback, no matter where they step up in the pocket, where they try to get to, or what they try to do. And so from that perspective, the aiming point, press point, and finish point become the teaching mechanisms for the players on how they should stunt. We have 3 line stunt tags that we use. We have a couple. There's been some through the years we've used at other times, but the three main ones that we have are sniper, which tells the players in the line stunt that they no longer have to get to contain and that a linebacker will handle that. It also gives them a two-way go at the press point, meaning their rush lane integrity can be vacated because the linebacker who's not in man coverage will be taking care of any of their exposures that they may give to quarterback escape. This is something that became a bigger part for us over the last about 3 years, where we would go with a cover one or a 3 under 3 deep look and having the linebacker not be an immediate blitzer, but letting them just wait for the quarterback to try to escape from a rush to have the opportunity to make that play. What this does for the D linemen when they're in their stunt is it really turns it into a one-on-one pass rush. And more of us have seen in the years as D-line coaches that in one-on-one pass rush, guys are really good when they've got a two-way go where they can go inside or outside. We always refer to as throwing the fat kid a donut, that they can have that two-way go and now have some freedom in their pass rush as opposed to having to be concerned about getting to specific finish points on the quarterback. By having the sniper, this allows the line stunts to have that freedom of not having to get to contain or not having to have rush lane integrity, and letting the Mike linebacker handle that. Jet is a tag that tells the lineman to run up field 3 hard steps where they are aligned before they start the stunt. And this is something we use on 3rd and longs more than we do against the run game. However, if we find a team that likes to run sprint draw or regular draw, this becomes a part for us to really give them some problems. This is also a bit of a problem for teams that want to run power read, where they've got the quarterback shuffling down and trying to read people, and everybody's going forward to start, but then the line stunt happens after the timing of the mesh point. And we've seen that give some problems to teams that are trying to do that as well. And then finally, the go call, which the scraper is going to go automatically in an even man line stunt. As we talked about, they only go if it's pass, but by adding the tag go, they're going to go immediately instead of waiting. All right, so I'm going to get out of this screen and take a second to catch my breath. I couldn't see if any hands were raised, but if there are questions, feel free to unmute now, and I'm happy to answer those before we get into some of the more specific stunts that we have. And I think at this point, everybody should see over slant on the screen. And so using slant and its sister call angle, slant is just sending guys one gap strong no matter where they're aligned. And what you'll see here with the buck, this is that bone technique. So he's a B gap on the run game. We're vacating the C gap. We're going to play the C gap with the will linebacker now. As the A penetrates through his A gap, the axe penetrates through his A gap to the opposite A. The buck's going to take the B. This would make the will the C gap player, which if they were in the shotgun and this is zone read going this direction, then the quarterback player would now be the will. And this does a good job of messing up the view for the quarterback as he's trying to make that decision because he thinks that the buck just made a mistake and that there's no longer a quarterback player. By having that buck travel in there, again, we're getting movement against the offensive line. His technique, if this offensive tackle were to pinch down, is instead of trying to get across face, is to use our bend technique and go behind him in that situation should that occur. Here's a clip of it. I'll get to the tight. Again, this is on a 1st and 10 play against a team that runs the wishbone in the red zone, St. Norbert College. And so you're going to see the angle stunt, the angle version of it here. So you're going to see the defensive line slanting to the left. Again, you're getting a cutoff on the inside veer release by both of the right side defensive linemen. So you'll see the defensive end doesn't get great hands on the offensive tackle, number 75, but he comes flat down the line no matter what. The defensive lineman to the right side is doing a good job squeezing that gap flat as that guy tries to cross his face. He's in a negative positioning from his alignment. So what we want to do is have him just squeeze the gap inside. And then on the other side, we're actually wrong as wrong could be, because the 2-eye is supposed to be going to the B gap. And he doesn't do what he's supposed to do. He stunts the wrong direction. And it kind of works out in our favor because he smacks hands onto that press point of the center. If this would have been the right way for him to stunt, he's going right through the center's near shoulder. And then he's able to throw him down and go make the play on the running back. And again, sometimes better athletes just make us better as coaches. And so you got two freshmen over here on the left side, the 5 technique with the red shoes. He's got the guy on him, and he's one arm, long arm bull. His job is to just hold stat and hold that position because he knows the entire defensive line is stunting towards him. And by having that situation, all he has to do is set that edge for us to make that play. So not a perfect play, but you see the 2 guys on the right doing a great job with their techniques. The guy on the far left making a great, doing a great job with his technique, and the 2-eye being the wrong direction, but being smart with his hands and making a play. And so with that, we'll live with a TFL even if it's done the wrong way. So here's a situation where we make a mistake as a defense. So we've got the angle, the slant call, where everybody should be slanting to the bottom. At the time that this running back motions out, our inside linebacker sitting right here does not adjust his alignment the way he should, and should change the call. But because we've got the slant heading this direction anyway, he has no responsibility for anything except for outside in this C gap and to get out here over the 3 receivers. His failure to get out there and trust his stunt to take care of the run game allows them to have numbers in the bubble game and pick up the first down on a 3rd down and 4 on a play that shouldn't happen. So again, we'll see the stunt from a technique standpoint. We should have our entire defensive line slanting to the viewing right from this position. Again, that guy pinches down right away. Our DN shoves down and squeezes the gap instead of getting across face. Viewing from the left. Our left 3 technique doesn't do a good job of getting into his A gap. And our freshman, once again, at that 2-eye spot, not slanting to the B gap like he's supposed to. But you can see the movement by the 5 technique to the right. He's a little too heavy in his alignment over here, but he is stepping this way, knowing that he's supposed to be getting that guy coming with him, this guy coming here, and this guy coming flat, leaving the linebacker here to play the C gap and play pass coverage instead of worrying about B gap run defense or A gap run defense. A little late to play, and being short a hat out there over on the perimeter just allows them to do a nice, you go back to that wide copy by not having the 3rd defender out over 3, by this will linebacker not getting out there, okay? He's given us a problem in numbers, and so therefore we're not going to make a play to keep them off the field or get into 3rd down. So the bend call is one that we've made a lot of mileage of against inside zone teams, particularly against quarterbacks who are either slow in their mesh read or are average runners. If we want the quarterback to run the football as opposed to their tailback, we want to make this happen. And so, I think of different teams that have had really good running backs. It doesn't matter who it is. You'd rather have more hats going to the running back and let that traditional pro-style quarterback have to make that read after. There has to be an open B gap for this to be called. So if there is not an open B gap, we can't run bend. It has to be to the open B gap side. The will linebacker here, again, would have the quarterback in the inside zone read play. It would also give him a chance, if we were in cover 2, to widen his alignment out here to split the difference if we felt that there was an RPO threat that we needed to defend with an underneath defender without bringing the safety down. If he doesn't think that he can get there, this would now give us a chance to walk him out of the box, play with a true 5-man box and Mike in the middle, knowing that he doesn't have to play that B gap from this width by letting the buck handle it. So you'll see this from the, we'll watch the wide first. The bend is going to be the guy down here at the bottom. Again, a taller, skinnier D lineman letting him chase down the line, particularly in this situation, because what you don't have here is you don't have a mesh point facing you. The quarterback's going to boot out instead of zone reading out. So now the will linebacker would be the contained player. I'm sorry, the Mike linebacker right here would be the contained player. And he's able to just pursue down. The other thing that you'll see here is the linebacker to the top has no outside gap run defense. He's got this H-back to worry about. Because he knows that the A gap's here, B gap's here, he's protected, and this guy coming down the line, if he sets an edge, will make the play if he's not there. We've got run-through lanes available as well as contained players on both sides. So his 54 is able to just run down the line. 58, this is good. You can see number 58 is a freshman from Higley, Dylan Peterson, just going there to set that edge hard, protected by the bodies in front of him. We're not getting a great job by number 88 here. That's pretty poor by him, but we'll continue to work on him this offseason. But 54 is able to use his speed to come right down the line, and we've got no worries there. Number 37, the Mike linebacker, Matt Koziol from Chandler, is doing a good job watching the read. He sees his run-through lane. If he wants it, he can take it right now to go make that play. And it's a pre-snap run-through lane because every other gap is filled for him to take that. So we'd like to see him shoot that a little bit faster and a little bit more aggressively as he sees that. Same play. This is against probably one of the better running teams in our conference, University of Chicago. So you're going to get the bend technique here to the open B gap. And you can see you get kind of chaos in there from the tight copy. Up here to the right, number 54, okay, is going to take this inside release. So now his job as his offensive lineman goes inside, he's going to squeeze underneath him, and he gets ridden a little bit, but it allows 43 right here to be the C-gap defender to that side, and there's a guy pulling for him. So he's got to turn his head back around and see that guy coming for him. I would love to say that 30 gives him a pull call based on his hand signal here where he flips his hand up. That's our indicator that he's seeing pull and yelling pull. All right, but now 30 is the over-the-top player to get through there. So if he's not going to take this run-through lane behind that puller, he's got to go over the top, and we're in a good spot because of how we're collapsing that B gap and getting guys downhill. Now 54 does a little bit of a freakish thing here. You know, he starts to feel himself getting washed down on that block, even though he's the bend player. And he spins back out into play, which is something we actually tell him to never do. We don't spin against run blocks. So that's one of those plus-minus moments where it's, you know what, it's not how we teach it, but it worked. The next line stunt, and again, if you guys have questions because I can't see the screen, feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question. But Pirate and Bandit are the two stunts that are basically what you get out of quarters teams when they're rotating safeties down into the box. And this allows for C-gap defenders, again, to expand themselves. It also penetrates things and forces run plays to bounce. It's highly effective against both 10 and 11 personnel because what you're going to make sure you do is you're going to bottle things up, make plays bounce and stretch out. It also changes the read key for the quarterback. It's no longer that 5 technique, so similar to what we're talking about with the bend on the last play. You get it that way. That was the Pirate. That was to the strong side. Here's the Bandit to the weak side. Again, one of the reasons the will linebacker may want to call this on the field is because if we're giving up a clean box over here and they're a team that will take that quick game in there, he wants to be able to fly and not have to worry about being the B gap or the A gap in this situation. Run defender, let him either get out there right away or it allows him to be the quarterback read if the tailback's set in a position where the quarterback would be reading the 5 technique to that side. Now he's got to transfer eyes to the will linebacker.
I have a quick question, Coach.
Sure.
Hey, Coach, Coach Randall, you're go ahead.
Yeah, can we go back a little bit to the first one, to the slant? I'm sorry, I just got unmuted here.
Yep.
To the first stunt, you had slant when your nose guard comes down and reads the near right there. What is his read?
So he's looking for the center. If the center steps at him, he's putting hands on the center and then squeezing the A gap down. If the center goes away, he's going to treat it like our bend technique by the 5 technique, where he's going to actually go back door on that and slant behind the guy. So again, this near shoulder is going to be his press point. So if the press point goes down, he comes with it. If the press point comes at it, now he's got to engage and squeeze that A gap down, because we still have an A gap defender in the run game with that Mike linebacker. Okay. So we haven't lost that guy in that situation.
Is there ever I'm sure there is a situation, probably not this one, but is there a situation where does he ever cross the face of a block back to him?
Yes, we have a stunt that's coming up later that he would do that in. So he would, that would not be it would not necessarily be in our slant stunt or our angle stunt, but it would be in our natter ant stunt and some of the other ones that we have in our 3-man.
So that could be a tag or a call that you give them when you run your stunts.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep. We actually 10 years ago we used to call that a fast technique, and we haven't probably used it in probably 10 years, but it's definitely still available to us.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Back up here to Pirate. So we talked about Pirate and Bandit, and these are the stunts that you see, teams that run quarters, they run this a ton. And these are definitely more called by our players on the field for the Pirate and Bandit than they are by the coaches pre-snap. We do have the ability to do that, but you're going to see this as one of those basic linebacker adjustments happening on the field a little bit more with their understandings. So we'll give this to the tight copy here. So this is going to be bandits. This is coming from the weak side. We've got a flip call with our 3 technique. And so both guys are coming down. So you can see 67 doing a nice job staying flat. Now his press point is going to be that shoulder, the center that's coming at him. So that is what he cannot let go past him. So as he sees that, hand to that shoulder, and then he comes flat down the line to make the play. 93 is making a mistake here. 93 should be a B-gap player, and he needs to stay in there and not come back out. So he's making us wrong. You can see the kind of quarters look by the safety here, even though it's not quarters. Number 1 is coming down aggressive into the box, probably too aggressive, to be honest with you, for a zone coverage play. And then number 30 should be a little bit better with his hands here, because he knows where his run-through lane. He's supposed to be getting over the top of number 93 to the C gap. He has no A gap or B gap responsibility, but because 93 jumps back out, he makes him wrong. So fortunately, 67, like we said, having his press point there, working his way back to the running back off that press point allows him to redirect because he's put his hands in the right place. And again, that's what happens when you get a big freshman that just plays hard and physical and doesn't know what he's doing all the time. So you'll have the bandit here from the bottom side. So you can see that 88, again, a first-year player for us. He's a little too quick, falls down as he's going back, but because he can't get across face on the offensive tackle here, he ends up stumbling backside into the puller. And so number 58, again, this is end of the game in this situation. I've seen a lot of freshmen. 58 right here, he's the C-gap defender because they've called the line stunt to bring both those guys down, so he's got to come around. He reads it, and he's a clean player now because 88 ends up taking on 2 blockers because of his stunt technique, even though he's fallen down. Number 68 here, okay, again, doesn't get all the way across face, so he's driving through that shoulder and then gets long-armed out and is able to redirect to come fall back into the play at the end. But we really like what he's doing there with his physicality and pushing a guy off when he couldn't get. He didn't want to get washed past the play. And if he had any reaction to that puller, that would be a bonus for us right there. You can see 55 here, another freshman for us, another Arizona guy from Northwest Christian, Levi Borland. Seeing that puller, flicking the hand out so we know he saw it. And then he's got to stay a little bit more over the top and not get downhill in that play. So even our freshmen at the end of the game there were able to make the calls that we needed to have. So here you're going to see the least favorite thing in my playbook, which is anytime I see 2-3 techniques on the field, because I know we didn't call it that way. And you can see our linebacker trying to get the freshman in the right spot, but we've got a line stunt going on, and he's able to just be quicker and faster. You can see the bandit line stunt to the left side, getting the complete gap exchange by both guys. Again, this is against a fly sweep offensive team that does some ISO stuff. And so you're getting the two guys on the left side pinching their gaps, penetrating through, which tells number 43 that he's the C gap defender this way. He would be no gap defense up here to the right. We were in our under front, so you've got a guy here. My man should be in a 2-eye right there. And then number 30 is the B gap defender. So now 43 on any play where there's no quarterback run or C gap threat, he has that run through lane to trigger and go be a free hitter on anybody that steps through. We'd like to see him be a little bit more aggressive on that play. And I'd like to see number 92 get to his press point, which is the near shoulder of the center. So 92 decides to snap back hands on that guard way too soon when he should be closing that hip and shoulder of the center. And you can see how that gap's opening up a little bit, partially because 67's going into gap he's not supposed to, but also because he's not going to all the way to the press point, which is that near shoulder of the center. All right, so now you're going to get it to the strong side here. You're going to get the pirate stunt. Again, I think that number 93 here takes the easy way out. I think he could fight across this face a little bit more, but he ends up taking the back door of it. Not completely out of the way of 54, so 54 is coming down hard, as 54 can't get across face because of the sprinting out of the stance that tackle's doing. Now he's all the way down. You can see where 43 is fitting in the C gap for the quarterback. Quarterback pulls the ball because he thinks 54 is crashing too hard, and now we're able to stretch the play out and get our skiff defenders there to help. I don't like 43's angle. He should be able to go flat right here down the line instead of continuing up and bananing that out. That's something I know that our linebackers coaches stress with him and work on all the time. So we just want to keep that play flat. We always tell our guys that the goal in run game is 0 to 1 yards. So we use kind of that. It's not about TFLs as much as it is about getting, 1 yard gains to no yard gains and live into the next play. If we need a TFL, it's probably we're in the red zone or it's 3rd and 1. We're probably going to heat them up to do it. But if we're in base defenses where we're not blitzing, the goal for a run play is between -1 to +1 yards as much as we can play. Those are all wins for us on defense. So again, 93, I'd like to see him a little more aggressive down into his A gap and give us a chance there on that press point. 54 does a really nice job. He actually pushes the tackle past. And then 43 is in the right spot. Just got to be a little bit better in his technique there. So that's how the zone read reaction would look out of those B gap stunts. Pretty poor film clip here, so we'll skip that one. Getting to the pirate stunt again. And again, these are called by the players on the field significantly more than they are by our coaches. So here you got a team that likes to run to the 3 technique a little bit. And so they get their motion, and we're getting our line stunt into this spot. So as 71 starts to step out on his zone, 79 steps on his zone. Now we're here, press point off the center. We're here, press point off that guard if he steps 2. So now we're engaged on this spot. Our guy here is a little bit too far, doesn't have good hand placement. Now you're having to get a guy down here against 71. He should be the outside guy on number 71. He's going to have to work a little bit harder to extend. Does a nice job ripping around it. With the fast flow that they're getting, it allows the backside defensive lineman to chase as well. Though they're probably a little bit aggressive. You can see they send 2 linemen up to our middle linebacker. So the backside defensive linemen have to go and chase this play down, which by setting the edge, they are able to do that. So let's get to another line stunt here so I don't spend too much time. I got lots of film on that one. Epic was a new one that we kind of added. This one comes probably a little bit more from the coaches than it does the players. It's just telling the end to penetrate in the C gap. It's a single man movement, but now what it does, it clogs up the B and the C gap. And so for a lot of those teams that like to run power stay with him here and then pulling this guy back here, however they want to do it, this is a pretty good play against that. It also allows us to stay in a 9 technique against teams that like to run pin pull, but not play the 9 technique, if that makes sense. So you're going to get the Epic up here to the top. This defensive end, because there is no C gap, sorry, it'll be over to the other side. There is no C gap, so they came out in a formation with number 35 here, plays that H-back for them. They put him in the backfield in 20 personnel instead of as a tight end spot. So by no C gap, now what this does is it reverts the Epic into a pirate stunt or a bend stunt with a 3 technique. And so it just depends on the communication on. You can see it turns it into a pirate stunt here. Again, I'd like to see that A-gap penetrator put hands on the center instead of the guard. And I'd like to see the 5 technique do a little bit better job engaging the guard instead of the tackle. But because of what they're seeing with an ISO-ish type play, we're really screwing it up because they're expecting to have that opportunity to run lead inside zone over there. And we've got guys on the inside and plenty of help on the outside. And because of our safety check, he's a free hitter coming through here because you can see our force defender is out here as a linebacker, and now it's forcing everything back and bottled up. And again, anytime we're getting that many hats to the football, we're going to be pretty happy as a coaching staff because we drew the play out a little bit longer than they wanted to run it. See if we get one here against an actual tight end. All right, so here's one against an actual tight end. So now our 3 technique should stay here in the B gap. 93 right here is going to pinch down into that C gap. And this allows number 30 right here to get over the top for any plays that go outside. So now they've run it right down into the open A gap. Run through lane is already known. There is no other place for him to go because of the puller. He knows he's got that A gap to run through. He knows he's over the top, doesn't need to go into that A gap. And so as number 30 does a really nice job setting the edge here, because 6 is a little slow to the run through and then also doesn't get over the top, we're short a hat, and now we're dependent upon a safety to come down and make this play for us because we didn't handle it right. Things get bottled up. Our force defender goes to the wrong spot. 31 and 5, our 2 safeties are in the wrong spot. Now we've all got to just run to the football and be football players. So not a great play once we get to right here. We've got the stunt right here taking on the double team into the C gap. We can all see where the run through lane is. 30's over the top. At this point, we're really good. Unfortunately, at this point, we're not very good because now we're playing with our 2 high pad level. Our force defender has come inside to be sealed off, and our 2 safeties have found themselves inside the box instead of being stacked search fill over the top of our force defender. Fortunately, a corner got off a block and made a tackle, which we know happens all the time. Tackle stunt. This is another one of the ones that we used, and this is one where you could see that center where he would cross the face of the center because we would be solid in the gap alignment, that if our linebackers feel that there is an issue where we need to get, they just have that inkling that the ball's going to go to this side, let's get things moving. They have the ability to call this on the field. Again, particularly for teams that run gap scheme more than zone scheme, this can get guys in the gap opposite of where they're receiving base blocks from, to, again, make sure that we're seeing that. Got two eyes here. Again, not how we're supposed to be aligned. I can promise you that. Now we get a guy to the 3-tech. And so you're going to get a tackle stunt, which is just going to move these two guys this direction. One of the reasons we had this against this team was because of their fly motion, that they would run the jet out, but then when their inside zone hit on the backside, it would come right back to this A-gap tight rather than going wide. So, again, this is an in-game or game week adjustment by our players with some of their fly sweep motion. You can see the counter coming back the other way. We've got the jet handled. We're playing physical. 53 is doing a nice job of reacting to, okay, it's not inside zone. Snapping hands back on the player here. We got a linebacker taking the run-through lane here, number 58. He should be a little bit faster to come through here because he knows by the line stunt that there is no longer a B gap for him anyway because 50 or 68 is coming into that gap. So he's got to be a little bit more physical through there. 47 does a nice job reacting to the puller, just being a little bad block by number 75, to be honest with you. That shouldn't be that easy. But again, getting your players to know the different things that are going on in the game week and forcing them to know this stuff really helps. So here you've got tackle stunt versus midline by a really wide split. So you're going to get him to stunt in here. This guy's going to stunt this direction. Again, they had that tendency. They're going to widen that A gap as far as you would let them. Okay, let that fat kid keep widening. And then all of a sudden, here comes the pinch inside. He's not good enough to do that. And so now it changes the midline read, not to give it to their All-American running back. And now the quarterback's carrying the football, and number 47 is clean right down the spot here because of the gap exchange to make the play. Whereas if he's got to come in here initially and come make the play on number 5, that's not a good spot for him to have to be. And we've now actually collapsed and made the play kind of widen out a little bit on this to make it a little bit better angle for 47 to make the play. Does a good job keeping his feet underneath him to make the tackle in the backfield. Never a bad thing when you got 2 Chandler linebackers on your defense playing either. And then this will be the last one we'll kind of hit up for you guys. And then I want to make sure we got some time for questions. But our outlaw stunt and our in-law stunt. So outlaw is traditional 4-man or 2-man if we want to go half line. Naming the penetrator. So the outside guy is the penetrator here. Against a run game, this is just going to turn into pinch. Okay, he's going to play here. They're going to be here in this. It's only on pass that we get the scrape. In-law or half line, if we want to do it, we can call it by strong or weak. We can call it by right or left. We have both of those available to us. And again, you got the penetrator labeled, the scraper labeled. But if it's a run play, he's going to be a B gap defender. He's going to be an A gap defender. Mike linebacker would be playing the C gap here. So this is actually the in-law stunt. So this is the opposite. You're going to get penetrator here and then flashing around. You can see up here at the top on the play call on your huddle screen that we've got the go tag. So this is going to make this go right away rather than it being delayed. Take that guy with you. If they're going to fan to that side, man, and then block back on the 2-eye check to the linebacker, we're going to go. Now, full disclosure, the team we're playing here is not very good at football. They played 3 games last year and then canceled their season. But you can see that we're able to get into that gap and then make the play because he's uncontested because of the fan scheme that they use to pick up the front side. And number 6, again, because it's 10 personnel, he's got free ability to just run through and hit. He's unfortunately just getting there after our 5 technique is. All right, so this is a 1st and 10 play. This is coupled with a blitz now. So we've got the line stunt here with the go call. We're going to bring him around, but we're also bringing this Sam linebacker off the edge. So we can still call the line stunts with the 5-man protection, the 6-man protections if we like, and create guys on the run through. Again, that inside linebacker right here, sometimes the play is not for the defensive lineman to make. It's for him to make. So with fast flow, he's completely protected by the line stunt. Nobody can climb up to him. He should run through here fast. He ends up taking a little flatter path, trailing the fullback, but he's still there to make the play for a TFL. And that confusion for the offensive lineman kind of comes from us. Now you get a tight copy. This is actually versus a pass play. It was 2nd and 2. We were expecting run, kind of their tendency. We still called it with a go with just base cover 3 behind it. You see he takes those 2 flash steps because it's a run play. He should be going right away because it's a go call. So he's actually wrong. But because of where the center's looking at that 2-eye and linebacker a little too heavy, he never gets his head around to the best defensive end in the league. And now you get a sack without having to touch a quarterback. Here would be the outlaw call. All right, we're running with our 2-2-eye look here, which is something we like to open up the B gaps. Nobody's touching 45. All right, so he's able to play off the press point, which actually becomes the center here. Number 6, because of this, he's the C-gap defender, but they're running this as some kind of outside zone sweep look where they're all coming out for our outside linebacker. Nobody's accounting for number 6. I don't understand. We'll call that bad blocking, but also good job by our guys occupying who was there to go make that play. But I'm going to say that's bad, more bad by them than good by us. And then here's that in-law stunt out of a different front. So because we had a really talented 5 technique out there, we started seeing teams fully slide their offensive line to him. And by putting a head-up nose guard, 3 technique and 5 technique to one side, this is basically something you're seeing a lot of the NFL teams. If they still want to send a second guy to look at our All-American here, we're going to run a little line stunt to this side where they don't have a way to pick it up. We don't do a great job. They actually slide that way. So we get the wrong look. And our scrape guy looks for grass to run through and is able to, it just comes all the way around. And then we get the one-on-one for the guy we want to have a one-on-one for because they don't slide that direction. We were able to take the slide away by changing our alignment, and that still gets us sacks. And sacks are always good. So I know I'm running out of time, and I probably got about 20 more film clips and a lot more stuff, but want to give you guys a chance to ask any questions you might have. Go ahead. And we have unmuted also if guys want to ask questions, or we'll unmute all if guys want to ask questions.
Yeah, I want to say.
All right. Jim, hearing none.
I take that back. No, I take that back. I think I wanted her to run 47. I just have that in my head. She probably ran 50.
Hey, coaches, if you have any questions, you guys can go ahead and ask now. If you don't, just go ahead and mute yourselves and
But it was
go
like
ahead
I
and
was telling
continue.
her too, though. Like her biggest.
What
thing
is your
not
D-line
tough,
slant technique
but
with your feet and their hands?
So we're always a man hand down
out
in
the
our
gate,
stance.
anyways.
It's probably not, to be honest with you, as much anymore, but it's something that we do.
Look it up.
They're going to step kind of flat to make sure that they are not penetrating aggressively past a guy who could be moving towards them. So we're going to make sure that that hand to the aiming point is the one that is firing out of their stance as they step a little bit flat at that guy. It's almost a 2-gap read step where they're going to be a little bit more parallel as opposed to penetrating vertical. And then on the second step, they're going to work to get upfield at that press point. And so the first step's going to be a little bit lateral, second step's going to be vertical, and then they're just reacting to the block at that point with both sets of hands as needed. Hopefully that explained it. If not, feel free to tweak me a little bit to get you a little bit more.
Good stuff, Coach. Hey, thank you. It's really appreciate it. And I want to remind everybody, if you haven't seen Coach out here in our neck of the woods out here in Arizona, they do a great job out here. They're proud. They're committed to high school football here in Arizona. And I think, what was it, Coach? 40 guys on your roster?
40 this year, and we're on our way to 48 from the 48 states somehow or another. I'm gonna make it happen.
Yeah, good. Well, we appreciate you. Great stuff. Coach, can you throw up that slide one more time of your information, would you?
Sure.
There we go, guys.
And I'm happy to share any of this or film or guys, we love talking football, especially right now where we've got nothing much else to do but recruit. So feel free to give us a call and distract us from recruiting so we can talk a little more football if you got things you want to cover.
Sounds awesome, Coach. Hey, I appreciate you. So we'll, guys, we're gonna move on to our next speaker here, and let me get things kind of set up here. So give me a second, and we'll work through it. Thanks, Coach. I appreciate you. Have a great day.
Thank you.